Hello, everyone. Today, I would like to talk about the myth about anger. So, whenever we're angry, we think it's somebody causing us to be angry, or the circumstances that we're in is what's causing the anger we are feeling. So, just like any other emotions, and I've made other videos about emotions. Very strong emotions always pertain to not what's happening in the present moment. Usually it pertains to something that has happened in the past that is still unresolved for us. So I'll give you a quick example as a parent, and that happens to most of us is when we ask our children to do something and we've asked calmly for maybe about 3-4 times, and still they haven't responded. They haven't done what we've asked them to do, for instance. And now we're starting to get very frustrated, and we wait a little bit longer and they still haven't done it. And now we are very angry. And what is happening when we get to this really, really strong sense of anger coming from inside, and maybe the anger shows up on the outside and we start to yell, or we start to get very frustrated and we're using, strong words as well to talk to our children so that they can understand what we're wanting in the moment. And what is really happening, it's not about your child not listening to you, but more about the meaning you put to it when your child is not listening to you. So I'll give you an example of what is going on in the background, and what we're going to call it is this habit trigger loop, because it happens quite often if you take a moment to see, what are the circumstances when you get very angry. So, for instance, when the child is not listening and you've said it numerous times, that's a trigger. And then what you're feeling is the emotion of anger that arises. And that's the emotion. And the emotion is always related now to past memories. So what is it related to? So when you are angry, there's a perception, right? There's a perception because, somebody's not listening. Your kids are not listening. And what do you make it mean when kids are not listening? They're not respecting me. They're not valuing what I'm saying, or they're not simply not listening to me. They don't care about what I'm saying or about myself. So those are the perceptions. And when we have this perception, there are beliefs behind the perception. So what kind of parent I am that my kids don't even listen to me? Right? And that may mean that I'm not a good parent. So when we are having these perceptions and beliefs, it makes us really angry, because not only we're believing that, okay, I'm not a good parent, but what is really happening, it goes even further than that. You remembering in the past, when you were a child, what that felt like when you felt like nobody was listening. So when nobody listened to me, meaning as a child, I need somebody to listen to help me most of the time, maybe process something or do something or understand something. When there's nobody around and I'm alone, I feel helpless, I feel lonely, and I also make that mean that nobody cares. So when nobody cares about me, then I must not be, for instance, lovable. I do not matter. I am not enough. That's why nobody is there for me to help me. So can you see when we are just that simple trigger of anger can take us on this journey. It's happening subconsciously. It's not happening like in the conscious mind. It's not logical, but it's happening in the background. And when all of that is happening, this is what we're perceiving, this is what we're believing, and it goes way, way back to those very, very important times in our lives when we needed the help, and when we really needed the help and we did not get the help. We did not have people to see us, to hear us, and to attend to us. And that was the most painful time when we realized there's nobody around. And as a child, these painful moments create those very strong emotion that then gets imprinted in the subconscious mind, the part of the mind that holds all our memories. And now fast forward, if we do not know how to reframe what is happening when somebody like our children are not listening, we're still perceiving the same thoughts and beliefs. And this is what hurts the most. I know that underneath anger, all the time, lies deep hurt. And this is what Eckhart Tolle mentioned in one of his books. So underneath anger lies deep hurt. So when we're angry as parents, it's important that we go in and we kind of trace back of what is it that we're really angry about and what really hurts, and questioning if what we're perceiving and believing is that true or not. And most of the time in the present moment, it's not true. But our subconscious mind has gone way, way deep to those very painful memories. And when we're there, we're no longer present in the moment. And then we believe the same thing we put meaning to when we're a child. It's the same meaning we're putting to what is happening in the present. So there is ways of changing that, because you would agree that now as an adult, we no longer feel helpless. We no longer have to make it mean that we're not enough or nobody cares. That was the perception of the child. So by reframing it, then we're able to manage our anger better in a more calm way. And understanding that, the child, if they're not listening, most of the time they're preoccupied or they don't see the urgency of attending to what we're asking them to do in the moment. And so maybe we can phrase that better for them, or we can say it in a way that creates more urgency, and for them to understand that we are asking them if they can do this now because, and give them the reason why you want them to do it. So hopefully that demystifies the myth that when we're angry, it's always about somebody on the outside or a circumstance that we're in. And perhaps, yes, the person or the circumstance triggered us, but the emotion that we're feeling of anger is usually from the past and not about the present moment. So by understanding that, then we can inquire deeper and become curious about what really happens in our mind when we feel the emotions of anger, when we get angry in the moment. All right. And by doing this with you, You'll also learn how to help your children regulate anger, because it's always based on the perception most of the time that nobody cares, nobody's there for us, nobody loves us, and so on. And if we can change that and reframe it for our children, then they will no longer feel that anger, or they can process that anger in a more easier way rather than exploding with anger. So teaching them how to do that requires that we learn how to do that for ourselves. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for listening, everyone.